Welcome back to the channel, everybody. As promised, here is part 2 of Mantis and I ranking the MCU movies, phases 1 through 3. Also, as promised, it is going to pick up to the second of where the last one left off, and I'm going to do the channel intro like normal. So, as soon as I'm done right here, it's going to jump right back into it. So, get ready for that in 3, 2,
Let's go with the next Avengers.
Age of Ultron.
Yeah, and this movie it was okay for me. It was okay. Again, kind of a forgettable thing, and I think maybe um, I just didn't care for. Maybe it was just a letdown from the previous Avengers to me. There wasn't too much action. Um, I know the Ultron, or I guess he was Tony's computer, right? That got
So, it was a combination of things. Like they were making this AI, kind of the Iron Legion, a little bit of Jarvis, came from the Mind Stone as well, and they basically put all these elements together to make Ultron.
okay. Okay. Um, I don't know. I didn't particularly care for the action sequences in this game. They felt kind of mismatched. Whereas, like in the Avengers, the first one, they kind of felt thought out a little bit better to me than this movie. Not to say this one wasn't. It's not. It's not terrible. I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's just, and I'm going to use a word here that you hate. Um, but it's just kind of meh. It's just kind of meh.
Let me know
Um,
down in the comments how
the
you feel about that word because it literally drives me crazy every time he says that. But
yeah, yeah, yeah. And again, you're kind of going towards the global extinction thing here. So I don't know. It just was, and I've seen this movie once. Um, so in this movie, you introduced Scarlet Witch, right? Am I wrong on that?
nope, you do introduce Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver.
Quicksilver, yeah. So I mean, I guess there's that. To definitely one of the most powerful characters in the MCU. So I don't know. That's kind of where I am with it. It's just meh.
So here's the thing for me. There are several aspects I love of this movie. I love seeing them all together, but just in like a natural setting where Thor's talking with, they're all at a party together. Like I really like that, right? And you're getting to see like Thor and Iron Man trying to be, the big swinging dicks, whereas like Rhodey is trying to give these stories to these badasses, and they weren't really receiving it. Like I thought that was a cool thing. The whole, if you remember when they're all trying to pick up the hammer and Cap moves the hammer because you see it move slightly and Thor freaks out.
Come on, Cap.
Well, the Russo brothers confirmed Cap could pick up the hammer. Then he was worthy. He just didn't do
Right.
it because of Thor. He didn't want to do that. So, but he could. I love that aspect of it. Um, I like a lot of the seeing Wanda Maximoff, Scarlet Witch, and Pietro come in as Quicksilver. I liked seeing that aspect of it. This is another one where I feel like the villain kind of fell flat, right? Because
Mm.
Ultron, I mean, when Ultron's hovering there at the end of the movie and there's the whole Iron Army, I'm like, Thor could have just electrocuted them. They're robots, right? Now I get the whole point was Vision had to cut him off from the internet, right? So he didn't keep going. But Thor could have just wiped out the whole army and then it would have just been one, right? And he would have had to escape. Like it didn't seem like something that was like Avengers level, like, okay, this could have been like maybe for Captain America or Iron Man, they would have needed a little backup, but it didn't seem Avengers level threat when you think of the previous one. We had an alien armada invading Earth, and
Yeah.
this. So it was the villain was kind of a letdown. Now, don't get me wrong, I love James Spader as Ultron. Um, So I think he did a great job, and the way they did
Mhm.
it was a bit of a letdown for me coming off the first one. So
Plus, they could have like this would have been a perfect movie for Jeff Goldblum to come in and we'll give it a computer virus. Like, just give it a virus and just deactivate all of them. I don't know.
yeah, but would he come in as the Grand Master and say that? Like, how are we gonna? Are we
That's what I'm
blending these
saying.
universes together? Like, what are we doing here?
I'd have been fine with that. I'd have been okay with it.
So where would you
Yeah,
put this movie?
like
I know where I
again,
want it.
well, and maybe we're gonna differ on this one quite a bit then, because I didn't really care for this movie. I would put this one probably as a C.
See, I would put it as a B. So I thought it had enough elements. So we're gonna split the difference on Age of
That
Ultron,
works.
and we'll do B to C because I would probably put it as a B. All right, you picked Age of Ultron, right?
Yes.
All right. Now we're gonna discuss the bane of my existence in the MCU, Captain Marvel. There's a few reasons why I absolutely hate this fucking movie. First off, Captain Marvel was before it was a Marvel character. Captain Marvel was actually a DC character back in the '60s. Okay, they went through. There's a whole huge story about what happened and who got rights to the character name and all that stuff. We're not going to go into here. But I didn't like her for that because now Shazam had to be called Shazam and they couldn't call it Captain Marvel because these movies released very close to each other. I thought this movie was absolute dog shit, right? I feel like if you have a well established universe and you're going to go back in time, you have to tread very, very, very carefully. And this movie did not do this. This movie cannonballed into the fucking 90s, destroyed basically everything they had done with all of the other movies because nothing made sense now. Like when you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in this, they have never known a Kree. They didn't know who they were, and they'd never seen aliens before the original Avengers movie. Yet the Skrull and the Kree were down on Earth, and Nick and Coulson had fucking interacted with them. And I'm like, that doesn't fucking make sense because they don't act like they know them in the future. And there's just so much wrong with it. And added to that, you got the just a bitch to play Captain Marvel who has no emotions. The character wasn't set up well at all. It doesn't set up why she didn't come help the Avengers in the original movie because it's set in the 90s. It was complete and utter dog shit. But
Yeah,
Mantis, please tell me how you feel.
that's pretty much it. It's sad because I think Brie Larson's pretty attractive, and maybe this plays into the whole. They bring in this patriarchy, feminist bullshit into this movie.
About to show these boys how we do it. You ready?
Higher, further, faster, baby.
It's so dumb. It's dumb because they have to call it out, right? Like we talked about this before. There are plenty of female leads in action movies that don't have to do this stupid shit. Sigourney Weaver is one of them. Linda Hamilton is one of them. There's plenty.
Gal Gadot,
but in this
the original in
Gal
Wonder
Gadot,
Woman.
yeah. There's plenty. Just for me, that plus the fact that Brie Larson's acting in this movie is so fucking bad. It's just fucking terrible. And I don't know. This is another movie I watched once and was just like, it's just dumb. It's dumb. It's a dumb movie.
2 hours of my life I wanted back.
Yeah, the action is not great in this movie. The only thing I will say, I did like the CG in this movie. The special effects are pretty cool. Kind of the only thing saving it for me, quite honestly. But the rest of it is forgettable and dumb, and I just do not like this movie. I've seen it once, won't watch it again probably unless I'm forced to. So
I went ahead and decided for us. It is shit. If I was going to, and I might in post here, if I put an F category, it's going there, right? Like it is absolute and total dog shit. But Mantis, you're up.
Yeah, so are there any okay, let's do Civil War. Because I think this is a great movie. Um
Oh,
I think what?
now we've gone random, but do we want to jump Captain America movies? Because I know we haven't gone in order, but we've gone in we've gone in order of the
I guess we
movies.
could
Like
do
we jump around.
we could do Winter Soldier. That's fine. We could do Winter Soldier.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that. This is I don't you know more about this movie than I do. I think I've seen this one twice, maybe.
Fucking crazy, man. You sound insane. Do you realize that? You should be medicated.
And this one, I know. And this one, it's bringing back a character from the first one, kinda, Bucky, and who this is. It also introduces who's the other guy that in the MCU anyway becomes
Falcon.
Captain America. Falcon, yes.
Falcon.
Wasn't a big fan of Falcon. Is this the one where they switch his suit as well? Not Falcon's, Captain America. He's got the newer suit in this one where it like actually looks legit good.
Yeah. Well, it's a very stealthy kind of suit.
Yeah. The action I didn't care or I did like some of the action sequences in this movie too. Like when I don't know if it's the first time you see the Winter Soldier in action when he kind of just basically walks in the middle of the street and he like shoots that magnet grenade thing underneath the car, like in the middle of rush hour traffic, and the car goes flying, and there's this battle that breaks out. That was cool. I like all that. Plus, I also like how he almost looks like a ninja, the Winter Soldier, with a cool robotic. Like he's an awesome. I guess he's a villain in this movie, but pretty cool villain. But yeah, that's it's a good movie.
So for me, I'm a little biased. Winter Soldier is probably up there as one, if not my favorite MCU movie. I love the Winter Soldier. I think the beginning starts out. The whole movie is first off, it's very grounded, but it has almost a spy thriller about it instead of superhero. Like when you're watching it for most of the movie, you wouldn't think it was a superhero. Definitely not an MCU movie, because most of the time Captain America is not in uniform. He's out there. They're trying to unravel this mystery. They got people trying to kill him. He's being a badass, but he's doing most of it in street clothes. The whole elevator scene when he's like, "Before we get started, does anybody want to get out?"
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
And they did that fight on the ship. And I'm sorry, man, because I love Captain America, but he killed several. Like that kick that not only did the guy bounce off the railing and went flying, he's dead. Those things. But then, when they're like, "Did he have a parachute?" No. When he dives, I love the whole thing. I thought the way they did it was great. Kind of bringing back Hydra, and Captain America's like, "Hey, we're taking it all down," and even against what Nick Fury wanted. And I thought it shined through without having to be so out there, right? Because again, it is very, very grounded. Absolutely love this movie. Like I said, probably one of, if not favorite MCU movie. I thought it was just great.
Yeah. I agree. It's really good. It's definitely better than the first Captain America, for sure.
Oh,
I agree with you,
leaps and bounds.
I think you're right. I think it's the way they wrote it. It doesn't come off as a superhero movie. Like it, I mean.
So there is. I'm trying to think of if you guys ever watched the Everything Wrong or Everything Good about what is the actual channel? It's Cinna.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I know. I know what you're talking about.
I can't think of it. I'll
Cinefail
probably
or
no.
something.
I can't think of what it is. I'll put it in post. I'll put the name down of it and maybe link it down there. But basically, where they go and they nitpick on, or they don't nitpick, but they will point out everything wrong in the movies. I don't know why I'm blanking on it at the moment. But the director even said, like, hey, we're trying to make this that proof, or like they don't have anything to nitpick on it. And when they actually do it, they basically call out, hey, there's nothing wrong with this movie that we have to basically go into nitpicking. And they actually bring them on when they're to interview them about it. So it just shows that, I mean, that movie was that good that, like, even those really harsh critics, they're really bad on DC, that they couldn't find anything wrong with this movie. So for me, I'm putting Winter Soldier. To me, Winter Soldier would be S tier. I don't know how you feel.
I'll agree with you there. Yeah, I'd agree. I agree with you there. Yeah.
All right. So I know, because I don't want to jump right into Civil War because you had just mentioned that, but we are kind of dwindling down, so we are going to go into Civil War because you had mentioned that first. I didn't want to skip over Winter Soldier. So thoughts on, give me Civil War, break it down, because you seem like you wanted to talk about it.
Well, yeah. So I like the aspect of this movie because it puts the Avengers against each other. It's almost like a pick sides type thing. And they have to kind of work their shit out to be frank. But there is I don't know if Iron Man, does he have the same suit in this one?
No,
he
never has the same suit in all. I mean, he's constantly upgrading.
Right. So, there's this dichotomy between Tony trying to get the job done and Captain America just, he always has to do what he thinks is the right thing. And I guess, and I think Black Panther's in this movie, isn't he?
Yes,
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yes.
The only thing is that I kind of dislike about this movie is I wanted the battle. I wish it was like in the middle of the city. Like they do this big fight scene in like it's like a airfield, isn't it? It's like
It's an airport. Yeah,
or
it's
something.
an airport in
Like,
Germany.
like I'm just like, you could have done so many cool things, like, because that's what's so good about like the fights. And again, you have your Avengers, they're fighting each other in this instance, but you have your Avenger in the Avengers movie when they're fighting in the city. You have all of it's like a playground. You have all these cool things you can use as weapons and as things you can jump off of and cool little interactions you can do. I just felt like they doing that in the middle of nowhere basically kind of just ruined that. So but I enjoyed this movie. I didn't think I didn't like Spider-Man in this movie though for some reason. Spider-Man, yeah.
Okay, first off, I had to look it up while he was talking because it was going to drive me. It's CinemaSins.
CinemaSins, yeah,
CinemaSins. Because I kept wanting to say Cinebinge because there's that reaction channel, which
Yeah,
they
yeah.
are a good reaction channel. You should check them out. They're not related to us anyway. I like their channel. CinemaSins is who does for all of these movies will be that they will give you everything wrong with Civil War. So I like Civil War. It does not follow the comics. In the comics, Steve Rogers dies in Civil War. So obviously, Chris Evans is a huge part of the MCU. They didn't want to kill him off.
Well, he was contracted for more movies anyway, I think. So
yeah, written into the contract, but it was also written into the comics. But so I'm okay with them changing that. We are in complete disagreement. I like Spider-Man being brought into it because it shows how even though Spider-Man is really, really strong, he was no match for Cap because Cap is he's so battle hardened.
Guess you got a point.
And even in in Spider-Man Homecoming, he's Peter makes reference. He goes, "You didn't think that when I took on Captain America?" And he's like, even though Tony and Cap were beefing at the time, he's like, "Trust me, kid. If Cap wanted to lay you out, he could have." Like, he still respects that Cap could have taken Spider-Man out just because Spider-Man was so inexperienced, right? Not on a power level.
Where did this fall? Because this was in like 2016. Did Marvel have the rights to Spider-Man at this point?
They had just gotten, or they had worked out a deal with Sony to use them.
Okay,
And the problem was that after Civil War did so well and everybody was so happy, then Sony wanted to push back because they're like, well, wait a minute, like we don't want to
Right.
give up the character now because it did so well. But Sony, you had your chance with Spider-Man. It's over. Move on. With Civil War, so the only problem I had was it was just like, and I think because it came out so close in and around the time with the Justice League and everything, that people, there was or Batman v Superman, there was this hard contrast of, Civil War focuses on, they get into this fight. The mom, Iron Man's mom comes into it. Same thing happened with Batman v Superman with the, why did you say that name?
Right.
And I think people were a lot harsher on it than they were with Civil War. I didn't like Civil War as far as, why do you put, so if you have, Natasha Romanoff as Black Widow is basically a spy, weapons matter, all this stuff, going up against their counterpart on the other team, Hawkeye. And then you tried to like pair them up with their equals. Why wouldn't you put the badass, most powerful people, take out the easy people first, and then everybody can jump on the one or two powerful people you have? Like, Wanda should have gone and taken out all of the easy people first, and then maybe everybody go and take out Vision. It just seemed like to make the battle longer. It was like, hey, everybody partner up with your equal on the opposite side, and then you guys battle it out. Like, no, like tactically, no, you wouldn't have done that.
So Iron Man just would have shot his missiles at all the, they're all, half of the team's gone. Sorry about
what the hell was Hawkeye going to do, right? So it's just, I get it, but it was just like, from a battle stance, like that didn't make a whole lot of sense. You could have ended. Plus, Vision has a Infinity Stone in his head. He could have taken it. He should have been able to take out basically everybody. And Wanda, if again, they don't ever showcase Scarlet Witch's power throughout the MCU.
No.
You got two people powered by Infinity Stones. That shouldn't have been a fight, but it is whatever. As far as for Captain America's, though, it's not my favorite. Like, I would easily put it as an A tier. I don't think it's B tier material, but I wouldn't put it as an S tier.
I agree. It's not S tier. It's just not. There's too many flaws in there. I'd go with A tier on Civil War. It's an enjoyable film. I've seen it a few times. It's good. If you haven't seen Civil War, I like just the fact that they have to fight each other. Like, it's such an interesting thing. You don't usually get that in superhero movies. So,
all right, I'm going to bring it around to, because we haven't actually touched on this franchise yet. I just realized that I was just looking through the rest. Let's bring up the original Ant-Man. Kind of like, it's just kind of forgotten. Now, here's my problem with Ant-Man. Okay, I thought the movie was okay, but just like we just dealt with in here, the only reason why I thought about Ant-Man was because of Civil War. For me, Ant-Man's kind of forgettable, right? Like, he's not, like, his movie was okay. I think Paul Rudd does. I love Paul Rudd. I think he does a good job as far as for the character. But it just, I don't know. Like the original Ant-Man, even Ant-Man Lost. Let's stick on the original though. It just doesn't jump out as something that like really grabs me. Where I'm like, oh damn, that was so great. I got to watch it again. I've only seen the original Ant-Man once. Right now,
same here.
To be fair, I've only seen Captain Marvel once, and they're completely different to me, but it just is because I don't know. I don't want to say, the reality is, to me, it's just kind of forgettable, right? There was nothing that was great, but it wasn't a bad movie.
No,
I'm trying to think. Is it Ant-Man, or is it Ant-Man and the Wasp? But it has the hunter from Destiny, basically. I think that's Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Maybe. I've seen that movie once as well.
But yeah, I've
I
only
know
seen Ant-Man and the
Evangeline
Wasp
Lily's
once.
in both. Is
I
that
think
you're
that's
talking
in
about
2.
Evangeline
I think
Lilly?
that's in 2. No, no, no. The one that is in the all white that looks like the Hunter, if you go the
Yeah,
Hunter class
yeah,
on Destiny.
yeah.
I think that's
That's
2.
the Wasp. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So we'll skip that. The first one there. It just I don't know. It didn't do a whole lot for me. It
Nothing.
was good. It was good, but it was just kind of it was.
Yeah.
I'll
Again,
say it
I've seen
was
this.
meh.
Yeah, it's meh. I agree. It's meh. Again, I know this video has gone on forever. We can kind of skip through some of these now. Yeah, it's an
Let's do Ant
okay
Man and the
movie.
Wasp too. Let's just do Ant Man the series.
Yeah, I like Evangeline Lilly. She's smoking hot. She's great in this movie. I think she plays the role pretty well. I think in Michael Douglas is in this as well as the doctor that sends him in to go or breaks him out to from
Hank
prison or
Pym.
whatever. Yeah. Um, yeah, it's an okay movie. Again, here I think the villain is weak, and that's why this movie suffers. Although, too, again, he doesn't have any superpowers. He's basically like Iron Man, but doesn't have any fucking guns on it. Like it, it
He
makes
just
him either really
shrinks.
small. Yeah, it makes him either real. Well, in this one, he can't
No,
go big, can he?
until
Yeah,
Civil War, you don't ever see him get big.
yeah. So I mean, he just shrinks. I mean, it's. I guess it's kind of cool, but in the aspect of making a movie, I don't. It's to me as a writer, I guess it'd be really hard to write an interesting story about it, right? So, yeah, meh.
Yeah, I mean, I'll put Ant Man as a C.
Yeah, I'd go with. Yeah, I'd put Ant Man as a C.
So let's go ahead and knock out Ant Man and the Wasp real quick because we already kind of touched base on the
Wasp,
Hunter chick character.
I think Wasp was better, and expands his powers. Not to mention the villain in this is I was a hunter. In Destiny, I say was because I haven't played Destiny in forever. So, the villain in this movie is way better. Uh, being able to
Because
like go through things.
yeah, because
Yeah,
she's kind of like going in and out of like the reality or whatever, like where she can flash through and kind of
mm,
all that, right?
yeah. She
So
phases. Yeah,
which is kind of like the Hunter in Destiny.
exactly.
Do that roll
She
back
looks
and go
awesome.
invisible.
Yeah, she looks awesome. Yeah, it's definitely better than the first one. I give Ant-Man and the Wasp a B.
I would definitely agree. Like it is better than the original. All right. Let's see because I think one of the only ones really what we have to other than the two biggies is and they're going to take a little bit and we're already running way over here guys. I apologize. Let's go ahead and knock out Iron Man 3.
Yeah, Iron Man Iron Man 3. Uh Again, and it sucks because it's literally because DC has better villains in it that I think a lot of the MCU suffers. And in this instance, it's actually kind of funny because I don't necessarily think the Mandarin is a bad villain. I just think, and I know you're going to agree with me here, they just did him dirty in this movie.
Okay. The fact that you call what they presented in Iron Man 3 the Mandarin is an insult. Like that was I don't know what you were thinking. I didn't like the extremists. I thought that was just really oddly kind of brought in with the nerdy guy in the beginning.
She'll take both. One to throw away and one to not call.
Advanced Idea Mechanics, or AIM for short. Do you get it?
I see that because it's on your T-shirt.
That
Yeah,
that was just
then
weird.
he becomes awesome, and
Yeah, and all this stuff going on. Like
it's like the reverse. I was gonna make a joke here. It's like the reverse. Oh, she's got glasses on. She can't be hot or whatever. It's like, they make
Which
him look nerdyish.
So he's referencing Not Another Teen Movie, which has Chris Evans in it. He's like, she's got glasses and a ponytail, and what is that? She's got paint on her overalls. There's no way she could be prom queen. And yeah,
Right.
it's kind of like one of those where you look at the guy, and all of a sudden he's
Yeah.
this nerdy, whatever, and then now he becomes this badass, like handsome guy that Pepper's swooning over, because all of this with the extremists. We talked about, or I mentioned, with the Captain America series, it, yeah, because I like Winter Soldier better, but it stayed real high, went super high, and then came back to a high. Iron Man, where Thor still does this, to me, Iron Man did this. I think each one kind of gets worse. Like,
I would
Iron Man
agree.
1 was great. Iron Man 2 was meh. Iron Man 3, I'm just not a huge fan of it. And really
Don't
because of how they did the Mandarin.
Yeah. And like Tony in this movie, and correct me if I'm wrong, he's like just, I don't know. Do they make him like seem pathetic in this movie? Like his bravado is gone.
Yeah, like he basically they turned him into a simp, right? Like his whole thing was about protecting Pepper and this, that, and the other. So that snarky, badass, cocky guy that knew he could take everything, it just seemed to disappear, right?
Yeah.
Like he just seemed constantly panicked and worried, and that's not Tony Stark. Tony Stark always has a plan. He's ready. He counteracts and he comes back. That's why he always does all the changes to the suit. It just seemed like he was in panic mode the entire time. Like he wasn't sleeping and he was always worried something was going to happen to Pepper and stuff. It was a very weird take for the character.
And so I know there's a scene in this movie where his house gets attacked. And like, was there some like computer virus? Did someone turn off like the security system? Like, I'm just so confused at how the helicopters got even remotely close to his house without some warning bells going.
Right, like I mean, everything else he had. Well, the one chick, the chick that he banged in the beginning of the movie that came back, that's helping with the extras. She
Right.
walks right up to the door, and he's like, "I thought we're," and he even calls that. He goes, "I thought we're in lockdown mode." And there's some
Right.
rando chick that he banged, 20 years ago, coming up to his front door, like, what the fuck? So again, just all really kind of weird. If I'm placing it, because we got to get on to the last two, I'm gonna give it a D tier. Because I don't think it was shit like Captain Marvel, but it wasn't great.
No, I completely agree with you there. I don't know what the writers were doing with this movie. It just after this movie makes Iron Man 2 look okay and decent. Quite honestly, in my opinion.
Yes. All right.
Yes.
We got a lot to talk about here. We only have two left. I'm double checking the list here, and it looks
no,
like,
we have to do Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
I saw that. All right, take it away on that one. We'll do that first.
Oh, you go ahead.
So Guardians of the Galaxy 2, coming off of again, a high from the first one. I struggled with because Ego, the living planet, is a celestial, but he is the only celestial of his kind, and he's actually one of the oldest celestials, where it was kind of a different way of creating life than all of his counterparts like Erisham and all of them, and how they create life and they create universes. It was definitely it was a weird take because there's still a lot of people who don't know a whole lot about Ego, the living planet, and then finding out that Chris Pratt is half celestial. It I feel like they tried to play on a lot of the comedy from the first one. You get introduced to Mantis, and and she starts tagging along. I to me, I'm not as big a fan of the second one as I was the first, and I think a lot of it has to do with trying to introduce Ego and make that work.
Yes, Drax? I got a penis. Ha! Thank you. That's not half bad.
because again, Celestials are way up here. We do mention in the inconsistency video, and we've talked about several times when we talk about the Living Tribunal and several of these powerful Marvel characters, and the one above all, who is God, the biblical God in the MCU. Ego says, and we said this in the video, where he's like, "You're a god." He goes, "Small G." He recognizes, yeah, he's still a very powerful celestial, but he's not the god. So, um, I don't know. I think that was a little much to try to cram into a movie. Um, to me, it didn't work as well. The movie didn't flow as well as I think the first one did.
I agree. For me, it again. I think with the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, James Gunn, he tries to use this same formula, um, and he tries to fit different pieces in. Um, in this one you had Tiny Groot, right? Because he got killed or whatever. So and this plays into little extra things he can use for comedy here and there. I like that. Again, I have a soundtrack to this movie as well. Great stuff. There's a couple of comedy scenes, and I'm just gonna keep talking about the comedy because I like. There's one scene where Star Lord or Quill is like he's playing like it's like a mini Tecmo Bowl game, little football game. I was like, oh, I had one of those. So there's like these callbacks that as far as like the 70s and 80s type stuff that he kind of takes reminiscent things from our world and throws them into this universe that's far away from Earth, right? And the other characters play off of it, and Quill uses those in his comedy bits and stuff throughout the series. I like Guardians of the Galaxy because it's the only type of movie in the MCU that kind of feels Star Warsy to me. You have your same cast of characters. There's this big adventure they go on, type of thing. Who is the villain in this movie?
Ego, Kurt Russell.
Okay,
So
it
yeah,
tells you how.
Kurt Russell. He's the villain of the movie because he's trying to basically
But he's the
destroy
Celestial,
or
right?
take over. Yeah, he's the Celestial.
Right. So this is again, you kind of jump into with your villains, kind of jump and make them gods to an extent, right? And I don't, in the grand scheme of things, I just don't particularly like that for movies. We get because it's so hard to do. It's like the reverse of Superman, right? Like the thing about like, and in this case, if you want to stay with the MCU, like I'll even say Captain Marvel is supposed to be like Superman, right? Same powers, same invincible, whatever. Yeah.
Sorry.
Like how do you write a movie with that? Yeah, like how do you write a movie about that that's someone that is that's a god basically. It's just and we talked about this in our superheroes to OP type of thing. Um and I think it drags this movie in my opinion. I want a villain that is grounded and they can have powers and that's cool and everything and even some backstory like good backstory that is uh mythological in extent, and we touched on this when we were talking about Thor, which is why I like those movies to an extent too. It's kind of based in this mythology. Why couldn't they do that here? I don't know. I didn't particularly care, and I like Kurt Russell. You know,
100%.
it just
My thing is, none of the Guardians have any powers whatsoever. None of them.
right.
Why are you putting them up against the Celestial? If I'm rating this movie, I know we were teetering on the first one because we put it between A and B. To me, this one's easily a B tier.
Yeah, this is not an A tier movie, in my opinion. Definitely not.
No. All right, and that triple check list. Yes, that is going to bring us to Avengers: Infinity War. Started off with the
Uh,
Guardians. You want to, or Volume 2? You want to take this one?
yeah, so Infinity War is you get into the knee deep of the culmination of the Avengers timeline and everything, right? We've seen these stones and these things, but we haven't gotten the full backstory, I guess, to what's going on. The Avengers are in a good place right after Civil War. Everybody's all kosher with it. We've introduced most of the uh, most of the superheroes in the MCU, and I guess we've introduced all of them aside from. I'm trying to think of any of them that come in game. Aside from villains, you don't really see them. But this was the big moment where they all come together to have to fight this god before he can get the last remaining stone to obliterate, half of the life in the universe. Um, I think this movie almost was set up. It's not a failure by any means. I feel like there was just so much expected when this movie came out that it felt like it had to deliver something amazing, which it was great. Like, and I know everyone remembers the ending. I don't know, maybe 30 minutes of the movie, right, where it's the climax, and everyone's fighting their battles here and there, and all this stuff's going on. I mean, there's a lot going on in this movie. I think the aspect of the movie that I almost want to hate is like they couldn't help Vision to just like I don't know hide him, put him somewhere. Like it's like a count. They're trying to play beat the clock to get this thing disconnected from him, and it's like just kill him. Like be done with it. Like take it out of him. He said he was willing to die for it anyway, right? I mean, remove it. Let's go. Get it out. Get off the planet. Hide it. Whatever. So I don't know. There was parts like that. I guess another thing I have an issue with is when Thanos and Captain are fighting and he catches his fist and kind of stops it. Was he just toying with him there, right? I mean, he had to be.
And if you watch the sequence, and there's a lot of arguments about it, because you'll see sometimes where it shows he doesn't have that many, only like 2 Infinity Stones, but in reality he had 5 of the 6 at that time. Like, he looks at Captain America and he's surprised because he's a human, but he's putting up that kind of a fight. But he wasn't like, I mean, Cap wasn't actually stopping him. That's why he moves his hand and boom, just knocks him right out, right? But he was surprised at the will and the determination of Captain, that he is holding his hand back a bit and he's having to struggle more than any of these other people, being that he is just a human. So there was that aspect of it, right? Almost like a respect or an admiration, like, because the one thing with Thanos, if you notice, he doesn't intentionally just go and kill these people, right? He could have. He could have wiped all of them out. He doesn't kill them because he's not wanting to just murder them. And that's where he says in Endgame, which we'll get to, but he says this was never personal. He had his mission. So right. I think that was the thing, is it was more of an admiration, like, oh, damn, for a human, he's pretty strong. Boom, knocked him right the fuck out.
Right.
So I think it was that, not that he's literally holding back Thanos with 5 Infinity Stones. Now, some people said that he was, if you look, Captain was touching the Soul Stone, which then kind of amplified his power. That's, I think, bullshit, because also, again, shouldn't be, but even though we see Hawkeye hold the Soul Stone, it shouldn't be, but I think it was more of an admiration that, Thanos was like, holy shit, this guy is, putting up a decent fight. Like, I had to struggle a little bit. Like, I thought I was just going to squash
But touching a stone and possessing it, I think, are two different things in this aspect. At least that's how I would read it, right? Like,
I would say,
he could,
right? It's not,
yeah.
because again, why didn't something magical happen with Clint when he was holding the Soul Stone? Right? I think it was
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't necessarily agree with that. However, I think though the movie is a great culmination of all of the previous ones. Um, I love seeing. I think it was a good idea to break them up where you have like so many people on Titan, you have so many people on Earth. You know, you split them up because it would have been too much for as many battle sequences as we had to have them all like at the end of Endgame. You just have that one big fight. So I think, yeah, it was a good idea to break them up. Uh, I love the Infinity War. I thought, other than like I said, there were some things with the stones and all that stuff. Blah blah. That's just nitpicking. I thought it was
Right.
great. The ending battle. My only gripe would have been is the end game basically of that movie. Like Vision's dead anyways, but now half the galaxy or the universe is gone.
Right.
Why didn't you just destroy Vision or get? Because I think that he can sense and he can tell where the stones are. That's how they knew to go right to Wakanda. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know that hiding Vision would have been good, but like at that point, because Cap's like, we don't trade lives. Well, one robotic kind of sentient robot life versus trillions of people across the universe, and you had to kill him, and he ended up dying anyways. Like I feel like that was the wrong call, but
Well, is this the case? And maybe I'm wrong here. I mean, in this movie, um, Doctor Strange is this the movie he saw all the outcomes, right?
he saw 14 million 601.
Right. So the one that actually that supposedly is the outcome that they wanted, that's how all of this had to play out.
Yes.
Okay.
So
So what
theoretically,
if
I guess
all this?
destroying the
Why did he?
stone. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, well, yeah, if he knew what was gonna happen, I guess it's one of those. I was gonna say, well, why didn't you change it? But I guess you change it, then all of a sudden it's not. You changed the future, I guess, to an extent. So you know, I don't know. It gets kind of weird in there. Time travel-y things get weird. So, which we'll talk about in the next one. But for this, where would you put Infinity War?
I mean, for me, and this is just me, like I would struggle to. I almost want to put Infinity War on an S tier. Almost. I would say
Yeah.
if not, it's an A tier. But like I'm really, really basically like because I thought it was great. Like
Yeah.
there weren't. I thought it flowed well enough. It had its ups and downs as far as kind of bringing you up, going back down, bringing you up, going back down, which I like in a movie. So for
Hmm.
me, I mean, I would damn near, I'd say S tier for me.
I agree. I agree. S tier. And again, the difficulty of writing this movie and the expectations I think that were set for it, which then when we get into Endgame, that has even higher expectations because you're having to wrap all of this up, right? Which I guess a lot of people probably thought when they saw Infinity War and he snapped and half of everyone was like, oh, we lost. Like it's such a weird thing. It's like, well, actually, there's another movie. And so now you have to go try and explain how do we make it from here, right? And at the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp, um, kind of sets all this up because Ant-Man or Scott had been gone. He had been lost to what was
The
he was
quantum
in
realm.
like the quantum realm, yeah. So he has no idea of anything that's going on here, which I guess you're immune to the snap if you're in the quantum realm. Or maybe Thanos just didn't want to kill him. But okay. So he pops out, right? And he's like, what in the hell is going on? Right? Like, and it's crazy, like the most I won't say worthless. He's not worthless, but the most inconsequential, inconspicuous hero is kind of responsible for being able to fix all of it, right? It is very interesting. So you bring him back into it with Thor is still there, Banner's still there, and the aspect of going back in time to fix certain things it gets hairy, um, and whatnot. So although I do think it's at the beginning of the movie where they find Thanos, isn't it? And they end up uh yeah.
He went for the head.
Thank you, daughter. Perhaps I treated you too harshly.
Yeah, they went for they chose violence when they woke up on the in the morning that day. Yeah, ended up cutting him off. I like again this. You have to tie all of these loose ends together and make it make sense. Is so difficult to do. In this movie, I think it's. I just think it's stupid that in the very. Yeah, I'm gonna skip all of the bullshit at the very end when the sorcerers are opening the portals to bring everyone in to fight this massive war against Thanos and his minions. I you have Captain Marvel come in and basically just blow through the ship and kill. Like, why doesn't she? Why doesn't she just go like grab Thanos and like kill him? Like, I don't know. Like, I just this whole thing at the end making her the star when she hasn't been in any other Avengers movie is just so annoying.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of her introduction because again, it comes down to when they went to go hunt the stones down because she's telling them at the beginning of Endgame, she's like, everything happening on your world or on your world or on Earth is happening all around the universe, basically. Well, you got a plan to go get stones. And I get you didn't want to have some rando come in, and fuck with the time, which apparently doesn't matter because they screwed time all up because Loki gets the Tesseract in the original Avengers movie basically now. Right. So you screwed time all up anyway. So why not bring somebody or hey, Captain Marvel, we're getting all the Infinity Stones. You might want to be here for this. Until she just randomly shows up and again to destroy his ship and again go after Thanos. At that time, he didn't have any Infinity Stones. Because Wanda was about to kill him and he rains down fire. Okay, I'll give you that. And then, okay, Captain Marvel, take out Thanos. It's like you just kept fighting all these people. Nobody was going like your powerhouses go after Thanos. Get rid of him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And don't because I love the movie. I love that they snapped and they brought everybody back to current time instead of undoing it. Because what you didn't want to see, you see a lot of times in superhero movies is let's go back in time and bring Gamora back, bring Black Widow back. And again, we talk about it. We've said in multiple videos about making characters' death meaningless. Well, they're still dead, right? So it gives it more meaning that they did sacrifice themselves to bring everybody back. One of the biggest things I had a problem with is how is it that they snap, and within 10 seconds, Clint's wife apparently appeared by her fully charged cell phone. And why has he been paying her cell phone bill for 5 years? Like, how does she have her cell phone to immediately call him? Like, what? Like, that didn't make sense. I know I'm nitpicking on that, right? Because it was a great movie, so I have to nitpick, right? But that clearly didn't make any sense.
Clearly, Tony was like, that bitch is gonna need a charged cell phone too. So Reality Stone, let's knock that in there. I mean, that's the thing.
She was right here on this picnic bench. Yep. That's where her and the kids disappeared. Boom, we're gonna leave her a fully charged current cell phone that has the same number. We kept her plan alive. He'd been paying the bill for 5 years for the family plan. Just that killed me. The other thing was, we talk about, we preach on about like who can hold these Infinity Stones. The Hulk almost died just putting on the glove. Remember, he hadn't even snapped and he was getting ready. Tony puts on the glove like nothing, and he's human, completely human. And I get it, he snapped and it killed him, but he put the glove because even Thanos, when he put the 6th Infinity Stone in, he was coursing. He's half fucking eternal, half deviant, and all that stuff. Tony puts on the glove, no problem. Like that was just a little.
I'm with
much,
you,
but
I'm with you. That doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make they never specifically state it like they do the hammer, right? It's never specifically said. that you have to be a certain power level, but it doesn't make sense that the Hulk could barely.
Technically, the collector says, and we mentioned this in the
Well,
opening
he does.
video and
Yeah,
all that.
he does.
He does say these can only, and we talked about it being written in there, just kind of bullshit line. Apparently, it meant nothing.
True.
But yeah, they do mention that. I mean, and again, the Guardians almost died. Quill was half Celestial, and he almost died trying to hold the Power Stone, and Tony's just got all 5 of them. No, now
Fine.
granted, it does kill him, but
that's what I mean. The writing is very hypocritical in the aspect of very powerful artifacts in the MCU. Like it really is. Like it's very selective.
If you don't know a whole lot, because I've watched these clips of these movies, I've watched the movies plenty of times. People say, "Well, how was Thanos able to grab when Thor calls Stormbreaker? Thanos grabbed it, and was almost ready to kill him with it. Like, how can he? He's not worthy. Stormbreaker doesn't have that enchantment on it. Okay, Odin enchanted the hammer. That's why. Just as kind of a quick wrap up.
Yeah.
There's no enchantment on Stormbreaker. Now, granted, it's made from the Uru metal. Like regular human wouldn't be able to pick up Stormbreaker. Captain America, he is worthy as well, but also when he's worthy, he gets the powers of Thor. That's why he's able to wield Stormbreaker. Plus, he's a lot stronger than an average human. So, all right, guys. We are literally going to be pushing close to 2 hours on this video. We will make a decision whether we do it 2 parts or not. I'm not sure yet. We haven't decided.
Wait, where would we put this one?
Do what?
Where we
oh shit! We didn't even. This is how I was trying to wrap up. Yeah. For me, I still think, because I think it's on par. There are those inconsistencies and there are all those little things, but I'm in the same boat with Infinity War. I'd be willing to give it S tier or very top A tier.
Yeah, there's too many. This is not, in my opinion. Endgame is not as good as Infinity War. I would put it as an A tier movie. I just think they tried to fit too much into one movie, and there's too many weird storyline breaks that don't necessarily make sense, and it's hard to. I'm not saying that it's not difficult. I'm just saying you made this bed, now you lie in it and try and make it work. Okay. If you can't, then that's what's going to happen. So, yeah, good movie. I'd watch it again for sure. But yeah, it's a long movie. 2, I didn't particularly care for how Tony was in this movie. And it's just not as good as Infinity War. It's just not. So, yeah.
Well, and again, I apologize for trying to cut it real quick. I was looking at the clock here on our time, and I was like, oh, shit.
Oh, you're good.
Let us know what you think about those, especially the ones where Mantis and I kind of differed. Endgame's one of those. Obviously, Age of Ultron, Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one. Let us know down in the comments what you think about our list, if you agree or disagree, and what your favorite and worst was. We definitely like to get that feedback, because I kind of like to know if maybe I'm just freaking crazy, or if I'm kind of spot on with where everybody else is kind of thinking. If you've made it this far, definitely give this video a like. Whether you agreed with this or not, if you didn't think it was bad.
If you've made it this far, you should. Yeah, if you've made it this far, why not subscribe? I mean, obviously you like what we're doing. Just go ahead and do it. I mean, either that or you're a masochist, which in case we've got more terrible stuff for you. So you should subscribe anyway.
Exactly what Mantis said, because we definitely have a lot more content coming down the pipeline now that we've moved off of reaction videos. You're going to be seeing a lot more of the comic book and superhero content coming out. So stay tuned for that, guys. We appreciate you as always, and everybody who is subscribed and watches our videos. And until then, we will catch you next time.
Later.